You know, life just doesn't like me sometimes. So, anyways, Peggy had a engagement confliction that she had forgotten about or something. So she's taking care of some business. So I called up the backups, but before I bring him on, I don't want him to hear that he's a complete backup and he's just an emergency and not my first choice. But oh, he's there. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Wait, I'm not your backup, am I?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not one bit. We're talking about first string because we're talking.
Okay, good.
Tonight,
good.
And talking strictly first string only, and that's you.
That's what
so,
I thought.
Yeah. So Peggy, I don't know. She had some commitment. She got crossed on something and said she was going to try and get on if she could get back in time. But I think it's just you and I. But what do girls know about drinking and sports? You know, so she'd be a waste because only you and I. How's
I'm gonna let you say that and just stay quiet.
Well, my Bengals started off. This is actually a full. Look at the thing.
Oh yeah.
He was actually he was a kicker for the Bengals, so I didn't even have to fake the name. I just had to get the kicker's jersey years ago, and I can lie and say that that's me. Yeah.
Why not?
I'm 138 pounds and I kick soccer style. Yeah, and most people believe that. But good to see you. How's things in corn country?
They're good. They're good. Yeah. How are you doing?
Very good. I don't know if you. I did. I saw you did see that, but I became certified with through Annie Grace's This Naked Mind.
Congratulations. That's a big deal.
Yeah, you know what? I'm very excited about it. It's what I love doing, and it's the kind of work that it helps me keep my focus. So it's something. It's going to be a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing it, and it's just like these shows. People think I'm doing this for other people. I'm the one that gets the most out of these things.
I get that totally. Well, you're good at it, so I'm glad you're.
I don't know. It's fun, and I'm not drinking beer right now. In fact, I forgot to grab my. You know what? They really ought to sponsor me.
They should.
It's much of their damn product. I used to drink well over a case of beer a day, bare minimum, and that was 364 days a year. I'll give myself one day a year, not for being sick or some other extenuating circumstance. But I swear to God, and it was
actually a lot of beer.
It was actually more than that. But I buy my Diet Pepsis and they sell them in a 24 pack, and carrying those things, it causes shoulders to slouch. It causes curvature of the spine. It's like that's a freaking lot of weight. And
you could have sent a kid to college on the recycling money.
Oh God. I used to, when I'd leave, I'd see people running after me with shopping carts down the street, just hoping to catch some of my aluminum flying out the window. That's so sad.
Oh,
no, it's just the amount of volume. It amazes me, but I had no issues doing it.
It looks a little different looking back, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does.
Time.
Yeah, and if you even think about Amy, Amy, we're going to talk about tailgating. So that's one of the things. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you mentioned that. But yeah, you look at the volume in water, the amount of volume I drank in beer. But if you gave me that amount and say drink this in a day, I literally don't know if I could do it. And yet you give me hours, and it was so glad it's fine. So I wanted to. This is football season, and Peggy's a big Niners fan. And we'll hit this again a little bit, but I'm glad you're here. I know you're a big Iowa Hawks fan, and I'll just start off because you got about 3 years sobriety?
Yeah, almost coming up on 3 years next month.
I'm going to. That's you got to come back on, and we'll got to celebrate. I think it's October 30th. I hit the comma club.
Oh, nice.
And I'm going to get a shirt with a comma on it, and just the 1,000 days. I think
just wear it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm just going to walk around with a big comma on my chest and back, and if anyone asks
Some people will know. Most people won't, but some people will know.
That will be neat to have the first person that says, you know,
congratulations on
yeah, congratulations.
Yeah,
that would be pretty. In fact, I'll give them a free ticket to watch the show because it's such a big deal. So let me ask you this: was there a time, because you're a huge Hawks fan, Iowa Hawkeyes fan? In fact, you've been banned from the stadium for running naked down the middle of the thing during a game. At least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
yes.
I know there's a milder version, but we'll get to that someday when you're willing to to fess.
All right.
But was there a day when you believed that tailgating would not be fun, or a sports event would not be fun without alcohol?
Oh, absolutely. Not only did I think it would not be fun, I didn't think it was like, why would you do that?
Why would you do it?
That's like getting up and not eating food or something. I mean, why would you ever do something like that? Yeah. There were a lot of things on my list that I thought I would never enjoy or never want to do without alcohol. And that was probably, it might've been at the top, especially.
The thing is, thinking I might not is overcome. I can overcome thinking it might not be fun. I flat out believed it couldn't be fun. I believe you could not go. What is the purpose of a tailgate?
Right.
The whole thing I saw was alcohol. Take the alcohol away. What do you still have?
You got football.
You got football, which I love. You got some other people that are there that I think you kind of like them.
Friends and family. Yeah.
You got weather. Food. You got festive. There's. Yeah. So my belief was, okay, so you're my good buddy. I believed we would just sit there and stare at each other and just go on. I didn't realize how much I hate this guy.
What are we doing here?
He's boring as hell. And football, I played it my whole life, but this is a stupid, dull game without. That's the strength of my belief system.
Yeah. Oh, I felt the same way.
And so how did you overcome it? So
it's interesting. I was thinking about this earlier today, and I realized the first time I went to a football game, an Iowa game, and tailgated without drinking was actually in 2013, which was 6 years before I ended up giving it up. And the reason I did that was I was on one of my 3-month breaks from drinking. And so I went to the Iowa-Nebraska game in Lincoln during this break. And so at that time I was real motivated to get through the 3 months. So the act of not drinking, it wasn't easy, but I stuck to my guns. I'm like, I'm doing this. But at the time it was just a 3-month deal. So it wasn't like, oh my God, I have to do this forever. It was just, I have to get through this.
Right.
It's part of my 3 months. And we went and I hung out with friends. It was really awkward. It felt really awkward. I kept waiting for people to ask, like, why are you not drinking? And I was rehearsing what I would say. And I was having these imaginary conversations in my head of how it would go. And anyway, got through that, went to the game. Iowa actually won the game. It was the first time they'd won in Lincoln in forever. And so beating Nebraska, since I live in Omaha, was a huge deal for me. It was one of the best Iowa games I've been to for that reason. But I was with my son, and my dad was with me. And my dad and I have always had this Iowa football bond, and now I have it with my kids too. And so it was a really cool day. And I remember being mostly glad that I was not drinking that day. I mean, after the game, I really felt like partying.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew how that would turn out. And I was glad that it wasn't going to turn out like that. And I remember waking up the next morning and the idea of like the experience of waking up the next morning from something like that, like a football game that went my way, that I was so happy about. And I didn't tarnish it with my drinking and my kids and whoever else, was awesome. And I loved it. And I thought, man, this was a pretty good experience. And still, I went 6 years after that before I gave up drinking.
But look at what. Tell me every commercial you see, if it's football and alcohol, the tailgating before. I mean, it's almost like coffee and heat.
Yeah.
That you associate coffee as hot.
Yeah.
I associated tailgating.
Oh,
That's what you did.
and what's unique about tailgating, at least in my experience, is it's one of those. It's like the airport bar. It's always acceptable, no matter what time it is.
Yeah.
To have a drink. And
Yeah.
so I've always loved tailgating, and I still love tailgating. But before I stopped drinking, the reason I loved it was because it was one of those few socially acceptable situations where you could drink as early as you wanted to. You could pretty much drink as much as you wanted to. You're supposed to drink a lot, part of the tailgate. Right. And so if you cracked a beer at 8 o'clock in the morning at your kitchen table on a Tuesday, someone would be like, "What are you doing?"
But it's like, okay, society, the world tells me that tailgating is alcohol, is how you have fun. Now I'm looking at, I've got my kids, my family, my friends, a sport I love, good food, weather, laughs, music, whatever. That is enough.
Yes.
That's magical. But society has me so convinced that without alcohol, we're just going to sit around.
Yeah.
And so I've been conditioned to believe, Pavlovian response, I don't know what you call it, but I've been conditioned when I hear tailgating, ding, alcohol.
Oh yeah.
So I had to, and if you had told me, "Hey, Jeff, come tailgate with us. There's going to be no alcohol, but we have a blast," I would go, "Okay, I'm going to stop by." But here, hey, Bill, you got to call me in 5 minutes and tell me the house is on fire and get me the hell out of here. I literally.
Oh, I wouldn't even stop by.
I had to live it to believe it.
Yes.
Change my belief about it.
You do. And I would say even one step further than that, you have to do it a couple times.
Right.
Like anything. I've probably said this to you before, but I had a whole list of things that I thought I was never going to enjoy again. And I couldn't have been more wrong. And for every single one of those things on my list, I now enjoy them more without alcohol than I did when I was drinking, which is inconceivable to me 3 years ago.
I think there's something to where I was with my drinking, which is what you call it, a bottom close. I was going down. I had to get to a point that I was willing to try and say, you know what, I'm running out of options, and I'm going to trust.
Yeah.
And are you at least? And that's what I want to say to people is there's plenty more tailgates. If this doesn't work for you,
you can always go back.
You can always go back. But is it, and maybe the negative has to be strong enough, because I have people that I know that don't have drinking problems that are going to go, I don't care if you say I don't want to do it. They don't have a problem. You got to be to the point where, I got to do that. I'm willing to try. And if you're willing to open your mind and think, what am I having fun? It's not because I would have just sat and gone, I would have forced it. It's like going into rehab. If someone made me go into rehab, I'm just going to sit there and prove to you what a stupid idea this was. I'll prove to you that rehab doesn't work. I wasn't willing. When I checked myself in, I was saying, okay, I'm opening my eyes and ears. I'm willing to try this because I'm running out of options. And I'm so glad that was,
Well, and that's why things like, if 3-month breaks and things like that, like I look back now and just shake my head at the fact that it was 6 years in between my first 3-month break and when I decided to give it up. That seems insane to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I ignored so much of what I discovered during that 3-month period. But I was never, my intention at that time was never to give it up, because I didn't think I needed to give it up. I just needed to change some things. And the whole 3 month break was part of that process. But what it did do is it gave me glimpses, and it gave me that one tailgate that I wouldn't have otherwise had, that when it came time to quit, somewhere in the back of my head, I remembered that tailgate and thought, you know what? That wasn't bad. I actually
Yeah.
enjoyed some things from that. And then it's not what I always say to people is it may not be great the first time you do it, the first tailgate or the first social event, the first wedding, the first vacation, whatever. It may not be great, but it will get better. And you got to go through the first one in order to get to that point where it becomes better than when you were drinking. You got to go through the first one. And
Well,
so,
they say, and I know you're a big golfer, but they say that you'll always have one shot that will bring you back.
yeah,
That's
yes,
okay. The round stunk, but there was that one shot. That's enough to get me to come back.
yeah,
By willing, just going, you know what? Yeah, if I had my druthers, I would have rather been drinking. But you know what? I had a pretty good time. When we were all, whatever, and there was some good laughs.
yeah,
Okay, is it? Wait a minute. Think. So you're saying it's possible? We're
yes,
building on it,
yeah,
because next time, and I'll tell you the magic. I'm not even at 3 years. I don't even think about it anymore.
yeah,
That's how quick, once you open your mind to it. My focus now. I went to an Oktoberfest a few weeks ago, and I'm the only person within a 6-acre square block region that wasn't walking around with a 148-ounce Stein.
yeah,
I had my Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi with me, just walking around. I was listening. My focus was, I almost didn't even realize it or think about it. I was listening to great music. I was having great. They had funnel fries, which I just love. So I ate funnel fries. I saw friends that I knew, and had the fact that I was no longer even thinking I'm doing something without drinking. It
yeah,
just became, I'm doing something. And
yeah.
that's what tailgating is right now. To go down, Bengals just had something, and I didn't go down, but I had a chance, and I wanted to, and it wasn't. It just wasn't even drinking. I was excited about the anticipation of the season. There's going to be, the grills are going, and the
Yeah.
smells.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I'm going to go down there and not drink. No, I was just going down there.
When I got to so last no yeah, last week I went to the game with my 13-year-old and four of his friends. And shortly after we got there, I saw this like twice. A dad playing catch with his kid, and he had a drink in one hand, and he was looking for a place to put it down. And I thought, oh my God, how many times
Yeah.
did I do that with my kid? Happy to play catch with him, but it's got to be somewhere near where I can set my drink.
Yeah.
And I'm only going to play catch until my beer runs out, and it's time to go get another one. And that's
But
not. Oh,
what makes me feel good right there is you started off, you saw a dad playing catch with his kid, and I felt a rush of, that would be great. And you didn't even so I already, and I'm just telling you, that's where people, you just got to give it a shot, because
yeah,
our brain is trained to think, and we've got to prove to our brain, and then our brain will accept a new norm. And what you just said, I stopped at, you said playing catch. I just had this vision, because I used to do that all the time.
yeah,
I was thinking this is going to be a blast, and I didn't even
yeah,
get to the alcohol part.
yeah. And I sat on a wall and watched my son and his buddies play football in the street for 15 minutes. I walked around. I It's just it's almost like your baseline for what you enjoy gets reset. And really simple, nice things like
Mhm.
watching your kid play with his friends in the street makes you happy. And having a conversation with someone who you haven't seen in a while, and
Yeah.
you only see at football games, makes you happy. And you're not standing there thinking about, am I too drunk? Should I have another drink? Should I slow down? It strips all that BS away, and
Yeah.
it's so much better that way. And that is, I mean, anyone who's drank a lot and then quit knows that's so mind blowing for us that that it is better that way, because there was a point, again, not that long ago, where that was inconceivable to me, and I would have bet you a lot of money that it wouldn't have been true, but it is, and it's just mind blowing.
You know, there's always one in every crowd. So I don't know if you can see the chat, but Betsy, you know, we're having a great talk about this, and Betsy had to ruin the moment. See, and she said, if last week's game didn't cause you to drink, nothing will. Okay, so you as a Hawks fan and me as a Bearcats and a Bengals fan. Yeah, see, you know, that's Betsy, that's another night. Those are a different kind of triggers that we're trying. Let's deal with the happy scenarios now.
Yeah. Well, she is right. She is.
Oh,
right. So, yeah.
Yeah. But you know, the other thing though, she brought up a good point, and is there was a day when if the Bengals lost, you know, I would be, no, Betsy, I'm glad you did. She's apologizing. She's the best. But anyways, if the Bengals lost, my mood was ruined.
Oh yeah.
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I could, it's like, really, you gotta let that go.
Oh, you know, it's funny because the way I would get after Iowa losses was somewhat similar to kind of how my drinking would make me feel, because I would get really down. It would ruin my weekend. It would be the first thing. I mean, I'm almost embarrassed to admit this, but I mean, I would wake up on Sunday morning. The first thing I would think of is why we lost the game the day before. And honestly, it would happen Monday and maybe Tuesday. And it would just consume me for way too long. And it affected my mood. It affected my interactions with my family. And then on top of that, I would get mad at myself for letting it affect me that much. And so that just added to everything. So it's kind of like when you drink too much, and then the next day you get mad at yourself for drinking too much and swear you're never
I have a reason to drink, and now I have another reason to drink because I'm
right.
mad, you know. So we just got to think. Glad to hear you have to keep trying. It gets easier. I must admit, the first NA college football game, wedding, holiday, etc., can be awkward and challenging. So, you know, the thing, here's my answer to that 3 years ago. You know what? I believe you, but tomorrow's game's too important. This wedding's too. This is so. You know what? Next week I'm going to believe you, Todd, because they're playing. They're playing so and so, and that game's going to stink. But this weekend, this is the big one. This is the big event. You know, I'll wait until the next one. So I always waited till, you know.
Oh yeah, you can
the next one to do. So how do you, what would you, going back in time, if you heard yourself saying those words, what would you? And I don't know that I would have listened to myself.
Yeah.
In the future.
I mean, what I would say, and this is much easier to say and see now than it would have been at the time, but what I would say is there's always going to be a reason. There's always going to be that big game. There's always going to be that big wedding. There's always going to be that big game. I don't care what time you pick to give this a shot. There's always going to be something. Fall, winter, spring, summer. There's always going to be something. So
what is your, how do you go into that, you know, besides taking that, you know, I'll put this in my hand before I walk through the gate or to the party, because now my hand I don't have to make a choice what to put in my hand. I already filled it before I'm going to be at the cooler. Make the choices ahead of time. But how do you mentally get over this first one, because it is a doom and gloom a little bit. This is going to be hard.
Yeah, for me, I drink NA beer sometimes. That helps. It helps me feel like I'm. It especially early on, it helped me feel like I was a little less kind of outside the group. You know, because you feel like you're the only one in the world who's not drinking. And if you're with a crowd, and you feel very self-conscious, and so that helped me feel less self-conscious. I still drink NA beer at tailgates, but I don't think of it as much. I don't do it because I want to avoid feeling left out. I do it because I enjoy NA beers.
And I am the most pro. I go for it. I won't do it, but that's that's me. And it's just, someone's putting in Heineken 0.0. My problem Lisa, I'll just tell you, is I would love it so much. I just know me. I have a tough time not drinking a case of Diet Pepsis a day. That's not even addictive. It's just, but I would love. I had a sip at the Sober in the City event last year at Peggy. Someone gave me a sip of an NA, and it was like, damn, that's good.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I thought, don't do it, Jeff. And that's just for me, because I will sit there and I will drink. I'll start drinking 24 of them, and it's just too close to the line.
Yeah.
So for me,
it's funny.
The risk is not worth the reward.
Yeah, and it's funny because I drink NA beers the way I wish I always could have drank real beer. I have one and I don't think about having another.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something
that's not going to be
never happened with real beer. But it's funny. I had a chance I was at a bar in Minneapolis, and they had the biggest selection of NA beer and alcohol I've ever seen. And someone asked if I wanted a NA gin and tonic, and gin and tonics were my one. I didn't drink a lot of liquor, but when I did, it was gin and tonics, and
right.
I loved them. And I kind of had the same feeling you did, and I said, you know what? I don't want to try that. So the NA beer is fine, but I am leery of NA gin and tonic for whatever reason. So
I'll drink NA. I'll drink alcohol-free wine. I'll drink alcohol-free.
Oh, really?
That wasn't my thing. It's just if I'm going to drink NA beer, it better not taste anything like beer, because Lisa just put in here, Amy put local small has Hawkeye tailgate parties. Talk to the owner and getting NA Bud. And he said, I'll continue coming if you do that. Obliged. And she said, everyone's drinking them. So I think, it's definitely, it used to be a label of, NA. Oh my God. I didn't know you were an alcoholic. You're drinking that NA beer. I didn't know you had such a problem. You seem so happy. Now people are doing it because they don't want to get a DUI. They want to be able to function when they get home, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's becoming a lot more,
well, and it's, you mentioned DUI, and there were times where I would drive up for the game, tailgate, go to the game, and we would drive back to Omaha, or we would come up the night before and then drive home after the game.
Yeah.
And the amount of negotiating I would do in my head of, when I never drank that much if I was making a 4-hour drive back to Omaha, but really I shouldn't have been drinking anything. Right. And the amount of negotiating I would do in my head, like time between last beer and when you hit the road, you're talking about driving 4 hours on the interstate, and the amount of negotiating I did with myself and rationalizing, it's just crazy.
Well, there's the list of freedoms that I am free of by not drinking. Obviously DUI, coming home and being too tanked to do anything with the kids or whatever, falling asleep. That's if everything goes well. all the negatives that go with it. That list does help me to get through the things. But my list of saw my great buddy Todd, and he was pretty bored. He's lame when I'm not. No, that's not on there. I still would have a good time. In fact, if I'm with you, I might even, knowing I would joke about, make a joke about the fact that I'm drinking Diet Pepsi or whatever.
Yeah.
And we'd laugh about it, and then it's over and you can have fun. So, for me, it was just convincing myself, retraining this thing, because this thing told me you cannot have fun without alcohol. You will not have a good time today. And I had to prove it until my brain finally said, wait a minute, he did have fun. Well, maybe we can have fun. And then that success snowballed.
Yeah, it does.
And that's the point where I don't even, there's no longer, when I first started tailgating, I think there was an asterisk. There was always, I had a great time, but I wasn't drinking. There's always, but I wasn't drinking. Yeah. And now I say I had a great time. And there's no but or asterisk that comes after it. And that's from the heart.
And it's funny how I look, you talk about not coming home tanked and not being able to do stuff with your kids. And I get that 100%. I found I look forward to I look forward to the aftermath now. Whereas before, I always, in the back of my mind, I knew the aftermath's not going to be pretty. And even though I wanted to go out and have a good time and drink, and I would, that was always in the back of my head. You know, I knew I'd be out of commission for the next day. I knew I would be, if I spent a weekend in Iowa City, I knew it would take me until Wednesday before I felt back to normal. And that's not living. That's not fun. And so knowing that that's not part of the equation now just makes everything lighter. It makes me feel gratitude. It makes me look forward to things that I didn't necessarily look forward to before. It's such a much better way, and it's a way that I had no idea was even out there 3 years ago.
Well, I love, like, at the games, or up to the point where I used to hide this. I didn't want people to see that I was not drinking a beer. And now it's a source of pride. I literally have it as a strength. And
this last Saturday, something funny happened. I pulled into our spot, and we it's a long story, but we did not. I've been parking in the same area for a long time. Last year we did not park there. So this year I pull into the spot, and two friends of mine who I just see every Saturday at games rush over and literally put a shot in my hand and say, "Oh my God, it's so good." I didn't see him the first week. And they say, "Oh my God, it's so good to see you here. Let's go." And I was like, you know what? I actually gave up drinking. And I was thinking, I'm glad this happened now and not like my second tailgate as a non-drinker, because I would have been like, I didn't have any problem saying, you know what, I don't drink anymore. And they were fine. They felt bad about it. And I said, no, it's not a big deal. But you get to a point where those interactions are much more comfortable than they were, because those are
and I think for someone that's new, you got to rehearse those, because that is
really,
I'm the kind that would just succumb to pressure and go, well, I guess I'll start tomorrow. Just because of, I don't know, I'm so afraid of not being quote unquote cool.
Yeah,
So
I get it.
So for me, at those early things, and I resort to at least try to be funny, making a joke about, oh, they took my, they stole my, and this isn't my line, or, hey, I was at the doctor, my check liver light came on. I can't. Making any kind of a joke to break the ice, but have something prepared.
Yes.
To get through that. But I don't know. It is, the list that I add to every day of freedoms and reasons why I'm so glad I'm living this, an alcohol-free life. The fact that I don't even, it's just become who I am to not do that. And I don't miss it anymore. That's just unbelievable. I mean, we would go up to the Michigan Ohio State game a few times. Well, they don't sell beer in there. The parties before, legendary.
Right.
Halftime, I was like, either get me more or I'm taking a nap here in the stands, because I was crashing.
Yeah.
I was like, how the hell do people drink and then sit here for 4 hours? And I was like, I was miserable. And now, my whole focus is on what matters, and not, oh, by the way, it's drinking. Oh, and there is a football game, by the way. We just go into the game because that's where they sell beer.
Right.
And, with your beer, and while you're drinking, you can watch a game.
Yeah.
And to be free of that, incredible.
And especially now that I go to almost all the games with my kids, it's so much better to not be consumed by drinking. How much have I drank? Are my kids noticing that I just pulled a 7th beer out of the cooler?
Right.
They're
watching you.
I know. And even after the game on Saturday, Iowa lost, and it was a terrible game, and I was in a bad mood. And I thought, you know what? This night is not going to end badly because of my drinking. And that alone puts me in a good mood. And it kind of, to your point, it refocuses you on what what matters. And
You know, you talk about the kids. You know, are your kids Hawkeye fans?
yeah.
Why? And if you look in the mirror, if you're not sure, why do you think they're Hawkeye fans? Why do they become Hawkeye fans?
Well, yes, they've been going since they were young.
Okay, but because of dad, and
Right.
they
That's
are
how I became one.
they're watching you, and they're emulating you, and you know it to be a good example
Yeah.
has got to feel pretty good.
It does. And in an environment like that, you know, you see a lot of drunk people, and it's not just college students, it's a lot of adults too. And so, and frankly, I never noticed it as much until I started going with my kids.
Yeah.
And my God, on a college football Saturday in Iowa City, everyone you pass on the sidewalk looks intoxicated. And so, yeah, it's everywhere. And so there's nothing you can do about that. You can't walk around.
You can find that videotape of you running down the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Naked in the third quarter.
Yeah.
You know, I know there was an incident. Can we at least say that there was an incident?
Well, yeah, there was an incident. It did not involve anyone being naked, and it did not involve actually running on the field. So as long as
it did not.
It did not.
Oh,
not on the playing field.
Okay.
So
Okay.
no, it's really nice, and it feels really good to, in the middle of all that, to know that I'm sober.
Yeah.
My kids have that to look to, that they didn't always have. That feels very good. Yes.
Oh, they're like you said, when they're they see that it's the 7th.
Yeah, I know.
I look at going out to dinner with my folks. It wasn't because the flavor, but what did I want to drink when we went out to a nice restaurant?
Yeah.
Shirley Temple. I want to drink like what Dad's drinking.
I know.
Whatever you want to call it. You know, they were that was, and not that he was a bad influence or anything like that, but I was trained. That's what you do.
Yeah.
How you have fun when you're at a nice dinner is you have that drink. So that's the message that, versus I'd love to be able, my kids are grown, but I wish I could give them, no, that's not where the importance is. The importance is being with family or whatever. And, friends. That's what I want you to focus on.
My dad quit drinking 21 years ago, I think. And I remember shortly after I quit, he made a comment. I think we were all out of the house except maybe my youngest sister. But he made the comment that he wished he had given it up sooner while more of us kids were still at home.
Yeah.
And that resonated with me. I thought, because I was still early on at the time, and I thought, you know what, I'm doing the right thing for my kids here. Because growing up, I literally, I didn't know there was another way.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that choosing not to drink was really an option.
Yeah.
like you can do that, because like you said, it was just everywhere. Celebrations, company, vacations, social events, sad events, you name it, it was there. That's what you do. So if nothing else, even if it's not your kids, just for kids or young people that to see you as someone who doesn't drink or chooses not to drink is a really good thing, I think.
Yeah, it's so many reasons. All right, well, look, I'm going to let you roll. And here, our closing music, which you're kind of not as old as me, but do you recognize this show? Welcome Back, Kotter? You don't. God, no. Gabe Cal. It's John Travolta's first show.
Okay.
He was Vinny Boom Boom or Vinny Barbarino. But anyways, I discovered this music that Wayback Machine. Now some commercials, or no, I don't know, it's some TV show or something. They're playing. We got it from this show, just so you know.
Well, if you need a lawyer.
Yeah, you need a lawyer. Well, yeah. Well, if you have,
I'll give you someone to call.
All right, stay on for just a second, and thanks everyone. Mr. Cotter, you got it, Amy. Vinny, Freddie Boom Boom Washington. Yes. Yeah, Mr. Kate or Mr. Kate. Oh, such good stuff. That's back when sit on it, mouth, and up your nose with a rubber hose. That was cool. That was my kids would just be rolling their eyes, going, "Dad, uber dork." That's okay. Epstein, yeah. All right, everyone. Have a great one. We'll see you, Todd. Hang in there, and we will see everyone next week. Take care. See ya.